Alright, so I don't really do this whole like YouTube thing, this whole sharing video stuff. I guess not my forte, I'm more of an Instagram person, I guess you'd say, but let me quit beating around the bush. My name is Cullen Folsom. I am 20 years old. I am a follower of Christ, and I'm here to share my testimony with you of how Jesus came into my life and how I was saved. Let me fix my collar. I gotta look fly when I'm talking about the Lord. So, I was born into a Lutheran household. I was born into a Christian household, and went to church every Sunday from what I could remember. Grandparents were really involved. My mom not as much, but still involved when she could be, And about the age of 9, 10, my grandparents ended up moving away to a small town in the middle of Texas called Fayetteville. And from then it was just me and my mom just chilling it out, doing our thing. And from then, it went to never going to church, never. Like, I remember there was a time when my mom, like, for about 4 weekends, we'd go to church, but it just kind of, it didn't really stick. And going on from there, my mom met my stepdad. We weren't too fond of each other, might I say. We weren't the happiest of campers, and being like 11, 12, 13, I'm starting to get that teenage angst. I'm starting to just not be the best person in life, and me and my stepdad ended up getting into fights, it's not right. He's saying very hurtful words to me, I'm not taking it the best. I'm saying very hurtful stuff back, It's not, you shouldn't fight fire with fire like that. It's not right. But after that, school life was just not it. I was getting bullied. I wanted to look cool. I couldn't fit in really anywhere. I didn't have a crowd. And if I did, I got picked on, and on top of that, I wasn't the best. My parents weren't financially the best off, and because of that, I felt like I could never fit in because I grew up in an area where money, I felt, was prioritized. You had to have money. You had to be in the coolest thing. You had to be wearing the nicest Jordans, doing all that, and my family couldn't afford it. Like, it's just how it is, and that's okay. But that's what I wanted, and that's the lifestyle I wanted to go down, was that fast lifestyle, just doing crazy stuff, and from then, I started listening to rap music because it's cool, it's what everyone was listening to. And from rap music, I started talking about weed and drugs and selling drugs and just living that fast life, and I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. And on top of that, they're talking about getting girls, getting money, as like 13, 14 year old kid, that's like, whoa, hey, I'm just figuring out what girls are. I want that, I want money because my family doesn't have it, and I can get cool things with money, and I can impress my peers and make them like me. And then, just on top of that, I can get high. I've tried it, I found it amazing. I found weed amazing, and just everything clicked. Like, hey, this is the lifestyle I want, I can get respect, I can get money, I can do all this. But I guess I was too scared to go into it almost, so I had that regret going behind it and didn't really do anything till about my senior years, whenever I started really getting into like all that crazy stuff, you know, like with weed, selling it, stuff like that. But before we get into that, there's also some other stuff going on. So this is about my freshman year now. We're about my freshman year, and I'm hooked on the weed. I love it. You know, it's beautiful for me. I enjoyed it, and because I loved the weed, you know, the rest of it followed. I started getting clowned on because, hey, you smoke weed, you're stupid, you know. Whoa, like, and then they'd be like, whoa, look at that dragon over there, you know, stuff like that. And I took disrespect to it. I didn't like it, you know. I was getting messed with, but at the end of the day, I was doing it to myself, you know. And then on top of that, what didn't help either was that other kids were making fun of me too, you know. And when I say that, when I say other kids, I'm talking about, and I hate saying it, but Christian kids, right? The kids that went to small groups and did all that, you know, was living a religious life. And I was getting picked on by those people, you know. And it wasn't like, oh, you're going to hell. No, it wasn't that, you know. It was, dude, shut the heck up, you know. You're stupid, you know. You're dumb. Shut up. Don't talk. Stuff like that, you know. And with that being said too, my little brother, my little sister just came into my life, you know, and I wasn't getting attention at home. And cause remember, I was a single child, you know. I went from being a single child to having, in less than a year, a brother and a sister. And you know, now at school too, I'm getting bullied. I'm kind of being outcasted. And whenever before that I had friends, I'm feeling like the world collapsed in on me almost. And I didn't really have a set identity. I liked what other people liked. I didn't like what I liked, you know. And on top of that, it was the Christian kids bullying me. And I hate saying that, you know, but that's who it was. It was the people that claimed that they loved Christ. And that really just kind of flipped the switch in me, where it was like, God, if you really are making all the good happen in this world, if you're really behind all the good, why do your followers treat me like crap? Why do your people that claim that they love you and know you, why do they treat me like crap and not love me? I thought that's what it was in the Bible, you know. And on top of this, you're supposed to be a God of good. Why is nothing but bad happening to me? Why is nothing but just awful stuff happening to me, you know? And I shut God out after that. I claimed like, hey, you're not real, you know. If you truly were a good God, you wouldn't save me, you would help me, and you're not. And from that day on, I claimed to be atheist. I talked bad about God. I did not like him, you know. If he truly was a good God, I felt he wouldn't have put me through that. He would have gave me friends. He would have gave me money. You know, he would have gave me a hot girlfriend, you know, then with an amazing, beautiful body, and just gave me everything I wanted. And that's not how God works. But I was naive. I was ignorant. I was just young, you know, and I wanted to be edgy. I wanted friends, and I wanted attention. And through denying God, you know, it created attention that I wanted, you know. I got what I wanted, attention. It wasn't positive, it was negative, but I still got attention. And then from there, started spiraling on weed. I started picking it up. I started getting it onto it, you know, and fast forward about to my senior year, right? I go off the deep end with it. I truly do, you know. I start smoking about an ounce a week. You know, I'm dabbing, which is like a wild version of smoking weed, but I'm like anything under the sun you can think of, I was doing. Not just weed, with mushrooms, LSD, ecstasy, cocaine, you know, any drug you could possibly think of, I probably did. And I was trying to soothe the hole that I felt from others, where I wasn't accepted. Because I had acquaintances, I'd have people that I liked and I could talk to, but at the end of the day, nobody ever wanted to hang out, nobody ever wanted to go out, do stuff, and I saw everybody else was doing that. I just was sad that I couldn't be a part of that, that I didn't have a friend group, and whenever I tried to go out of my way to make friends, nobody did the same for me, and from then it just kind of grew with the weed. No one was doing that. All right, let's go back to the weed. The weed makes me happy, and then drug dealing happened. I got big into that because I was in a small town. I moved up to College Station with my grandparents. I was known as the weed guy. I was known as the weed guy, and all the while that's happening, my grandparents are making me go to church with them. Because like I said, which I didn't even cover this. It's my bad for skipping out on that. But I ended up, from sophomore year to junior year that summer, right, I moved to Fayetteville from South Houston to live with my grandparents instead of my parents, because I was messing around in high school. I didn't like it there because I was getting bullied and I was doing it to myself too. And not only that, my stepdad and I had a terrible relationship, and we couldn't really financially afford me there almost, because I was selfish. I wanted the nicest things and we couldn't afford that. And what I do, I begged my parents to get me it. I was a POS, really. I was a crappy person. And I felt the best thing to do, which up until then was probably my best decision, was, hey, let's do it for my little siblings, do it for my siblings, give my mom clarity, just do it for them. And I moved to Fayetteville. I moved to live with my grandparents, and from then, it was basically the same thing, just getting bullied at school, wanted to be like who I thought were the cool kids, didn't work, went back to weed, this and that, just kind of a same cycle, just over and over again. Senior year, and moving on to senior year, right, that's whenever everything went downhill. Got into every drug you could think of, drinking, just partying, and didn't have a select group of friends, really. I felt at that point, the friend that I was hanging around with, which I thought I finally found someone, that was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, this is my friend. He ended up going to hang out with some other group of people, which, hey, it happens, people change, things change. But I didn't think about it like that. I thought it was like, oh, you're hanging out with them now, and we all knew each other too. It's not like it's a big town, everybody knows everybody, and I felt like I was cool with them, but it turned more or less into, at least what I felt was, they're moving on, they're hanging out with each other, excluding me. I'm not invited. What's going on here? Come on, man, I just want to do something. And from that, it turned into I just want to talk to somebody. I don't have anybody I can talk to. So I'd start, and I still do this a little bit to this day, but it turned into just calling people, texting them, just, hey, what's up, bro? I haven't talked to you in a while. How you doing? Or just calling people about daily, hey, dude, how are you? I just want to talk, and then they wouldn't answer. And then it just kind of broke my heart almost, just nobody cares. And again, that goes back to the weed, I'd be like, oh, no one cares. Well, let's just mess around, do my thing. We're smoking weed alone again today. And then I got into drug dealing, which this is a whole different story. I was known as the weed guy in my town, and everyone knew that, hey, you can get weed from this dude. This dude's made it his personality. and I ended up selling weed there. Did somewhat decent. That's my phone. We're all good. Y'all didn't see that. Stay. So from there, it turned into just selling weed, getting it out. You know, I was known as the dude. Hey, if you're gonna buy weed from the dude that smokes it every day. You know, and I felt important then because people needed me, and with that, I was making money. You know, I was doing what I wanted to do. But the thing was, I was spending it faster than I made it, and I was spending it on bad stuff. Disregarding safety for others, you know, just feeding into, helping them get their addiction, you know. And sadly, I got arrested. And it happens, you know, you can't be above the law forever. It will catch you. I got popped with on the way back from a buy, and I got busted with a quarter pound of weed and a little bit of dabs, which those are a Class A misdemeanor and a felony. I luckily lied my way out of it, not the best way, but lied my way out of getting a distribution charge and all that good stuff, you know. I spent the night in jail, had my mom bail me out, you know. I didn't save any money. I was spending it all. On top of that, I just spent all my money on more weed, you know. And it wasn't nice, wasn't fun, but that charge ended up turning into a charge basically got dropped, if we're being real. From what I know of, it got dropped. Nothing really exists of it no more, and I didn't learn a lesson at all. So you know what I went back to doing? Weed. I didn't learn nothing, you know. Hey, yeah, I got busted, but nothing happened of it. Whatever. And I'm going back to weed, you know. And from after I got arrested, I realized, like, hey, I gotta get a real job, you know. I can't sell it, but I can smoke the hell out of it, though, you know. And still going to the same drug dealer. And I wouldn't even say really I quit selling drugs. Like, I'd still get it for you, you know. If you, I wouldn't carry anything on me to sell, but if you needed it, I'd run and go get it and drop it off, you know. Get a little bit of money, extra side of money from it, you know, just doing my thing with that. And still didn't really learn a lesson. Went to Buc-ee's, worked there for about a couple months, and I get a call from my cousin, and she's saying, like, hey, I have a job opportunity for you up here in Dallas, you know. I know you're a little adrenaline junkie, you like doing the fast life, stuff like that. If you want this job, come get it. And that job ended up being a tower climbing job, basically like those 2,000 foot like cell towers you see. That's what I work on, that's what I do, all that cool stuff. And I'm like, heck yeah, that's up my alley. That is right there with what I want. And went on to do that, you know. Got me an amazing company. I love them. They've treated me awesome. But anyways, still smoking weed, still fucking off, still just not living life properly, you know. Not living it the Christ-like way. And still atheist, still not believing, you know. Some time goes by. I'm slowing down on the weed, you know. I ended up slowing down on the weed a lot. Okay, I got responsibilities now, you know. I got work. I can't sit here and smoke weed all day. And I ended up getting to travel and just do all these cool events, you know. I'm still doing it to this day. It's a beautiful opportunity that I was blessed with. But from there, I was still, like I said, it's just still smoking weed, doing my thing. And I remember, fast forward about a year and a half, nothing really too crazy happened over this. I ended up getting a girlfriend over this, or about 2 girlfriends over the time, giving into premarital sex, just doing stuff like that, but nothing too crazy out the ordinary from there. Fast forward to about February of 2023, or this year. So I'm with this girl, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I love her. This is the love of my life. She's beautiful. Like, I just want to be with her all the time. And it wasn't necessarily, I guess, the best relationship. I used her really for kind of status and for sex, really, and that's really about it, like, for being real. I said I'd do all this stuff, never did it. Just being a POS, really, And granted, I'm not trying to take away from her, 'cause she's a very beautiful, lovely person and just charismatic thing, but I felt that I guess I had problems because our personalities didn't match. She's really quiet and decisive, doesn't really know what she wants, and I would take that as like, oh, she doesn't like me, So I want someone that can kind of challenge me in a sense to where it's like I'll say something, they're like, well, I don't agree with that, and I find it like just intelligence, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm saying she's not intelligent, she just wasn't talkative with her intelligence, if that makes sense. And it just didn't work out well. I'm gone from home a lot, she wants to see me, I can't go see her, and from then it's hey, she wants to break up. I took it the wrong way. I'm thinking, oh, hey, she's cheating, she's doing this, she's doing that. More likely or not, she probably wasn't, but I got really wrapped up in that whole Andrew Tate stuff, that whole red pill culture, whatever it is, and I was like, oh, she's cheating, she's just a hoe, she's like the rest of these women, a hoe. And in reality, she more likely or not isn't, like 99% case isn't, at least I hope not. But regardless, anyways, moving past that, I took it bad. I did. Because it was the first person I felt that liked me for who I was, not for what I had, the very first person. And it just got ripped away from me. I was out on work was going awful, it was just a horrible month in my life. Like, I couldn't, and nothing was going right, just everything was going wrong. I just felt tragedy, like, almost killed some people at work with just a dumb decision I made, I'm getting just day in, day out yelled at by my foreman, and granted, and he's stressed too. I understand. I fully understand. He has two apprentices. He's having work for him up on a tower, and he's trying to run a whole show. He's new to the whole foreman thing. I understand. It's stressful. It can be very stressful. And it just felt like everything was imploding on itself, like I couldn't handle it no more. And I remember I get back from Indiana. South Bend, Indiana. I get back from South Bend, Indiana from this job where she broke up with me. It's just everything was going wrong. And oddly enough, I end up going to get some more weed, I want some. I'm depressed at this point, I'm sad. Nothing's working for me. It's just tragedy. And I go see my drug dealer, for the one thing I know that will fix it. Or what I thought would fix it. Weed. And me and him have a very amazing connection, we're very cool people. Like, I love him, that's my homeboy right there. And I'll never forget it. I'm I'm sitting there talking with him, all I feel is tragedy, but I want to be sure he's doing good too, It's my friend, you got to. And he ends up just kind of looking at me, I remember, and just kind of said, "Hey, by any chance, have you ever checked out the gospel?" I remember it vividly. By any chance, have you checked out the gospel? And he went on to explain about how it's love, how it's just an amazing thing that you need to check out, right? Like, you don't have to believe in it, just read it. And I found that so weird. I wasn't offended, but I was more or less like confused. Like, dude, you're a drug dealer. Why are you telling me this? Like, it doesn't make sense to me why a drug dealer would tell me this. And I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind, really, for about a week, 2 weeks maybe. And I ended up going on after that encounter. I got my weed, just kept going on, kind of kept it in the back of my mind. I went on to a job to Missouri City, Texas, which is about South Houston, near Pearland, Sugarland, that area. And I remember I'm in an Airbnb. It's my foreman's in there. It was one of my other coworkers, Drew, and amazing dude, by the way, amazing guy. And I remember just something telling me, hey, you got to look up pages of the Bible. Like, check this out. A drug dealer told you it for a reason, Like, that's weird. You might as well check it out, If a drug dealer told you it, there's probably something behind it. And I remember I look up pages of the Bible on, like, my phone, and I start reading, and it turns out it's Psalms 23. And this now is my favorite chapter of the Bible. My favorite verse comes from there. I love it. It's the most beautiful psalm written. And while I was reading it, it's like I got tunnel vision straight onto it. Like, I couldn't look away from it. And sorry, hold up, let me get me a napkin. But I remember while I was reading it, it just felt like I got tunnel vision. My vision started shaking, and I just felt kind of like a warm blanket around me, and like it was squeezing me, like the biggest hug I've ever gotten. And I'll tell you this right now, I could not compare that with any drug I've done. And I've done a lot of them, and I could not compare that to any drug I've done. And from that moment on, I knew, hey, there's something in this, there's something about this that I have no idea what's going on. But that just made me feel like I've done the most ecstasy I've ever done, right? The most whatever I've ever done. The most... I couldn't compare it to a drug I've ever done. And I'm just like, hey, this is the way. I don't know anything about this, but I need to look into this, because this stuff's real. This is real. And from then, just kind of went on my journey, did my thing, and was still smoking weed, still doing all this, but just reading the Bible. I was a Christian. I was a very lukewarm Christian, but I was a Christian. And I ended up kind of getting more and more and more into it, just because my morals aligned perfectly with it, I loved it. And it made me feel loved when all I felt was tragedy. And I couldn't shake that, you know. I remember too, like, about 3 months after this, I'm just in a bad spot, you know. I'm just in a horrible spot. I remember I'm crying in my room, like I'm just like weeping, bawling, just depressed. I ended up having to call the hotline, the suicide hotline, and talking to a person there, just contemplating my life. Like, work wasn't going good. I just felt lonely, you know, and it's the reason for that was I tried having a dinner for my family. Like, we just got back from a job, we're tired, you know, but I wanted to have a dinner for my cousin, her boyfriend, and me. I haven't seen him in a while. I just want to cook for him, you know, just share some love. And I still love him to this day. I don't blame them for this event because they were tired. I understand. But they ended up not coming out to this, and it made me sad, you know. I felt betrayed. I truly did. It felt like the people that I thought I could trust just abandoned me. They didn't care. And on top of that, I felt like I was the only person trying to reach out to them. You know, I'm the only person trying to help them. And I'm not getting the same back. And it just kind of spiraled me out of control. I called the hotline, just nothing was fixed. I just didn't know what to do. But I started praying. I started reading my Bible religiously. And that helped. I don't know, I can't tell you how it helped. Or actually, I can. It made me feel loved when all I felt was tragedy. I know I said that, but I'll say it again, because it's the most true thing I will say. The Bible made me feel loved when all I felt was tragedy. And from then, I started kind of staying up in Dallas because I didn't like that area that I was staying in Fayetteville. There's something to do there. All I would do is just kind of wrap myself in sin, you know. I can't do anything else, so might as well get into sin. That's what was my thinking. So I started staying up in Dallas, keeping myself busy, and one of my good friends, her name is Amanda Berry, she ended up reaching out to me and was like, hey, you know, you should come to this church with me called Upper Room Dallas. And we get there and she's like, hey, it's gonna be a little weird. It's gonna be nothing that you've ever seen before. Because keep in mind, the only churches I'm used to is like small town Bible thumper, like you got the pews, you got a preacher reading, and you got people like singing like out of a booklet, you know. And then that's it. You know, it's basically like a lecture almost. And she took me here, and people were speaking in tongues, people were casting out demons from people, and it was like, whoa, I ain't seen this. This is weird, but I like it. I like it. And I guess the reason I liked it was because it was different, you know. It fitted me. It was like, hey, I'm different. This is different. Let's hop on board, you know. Let's go for it. And I started getting more in touch with Upper Room, and then I started going to a church in Fort Worth called Mercy Culture. And from then I was introduced to a bunch of wonderful people, you know, a bunch of just beautiful brothers and sisters in the Lord, and I have a community, and I had people that I loved, you know, and I still do love them, you know. They're my family. They're my brothers and sisters. They're my family. I feel like I can be connected with them. And it's just a lovely thing, and I'm happy for them because they've helped me grow so much with my faith, at least, and helping me get closer to where I'm at today, you know. And to keep expanding my knowledge, they push me for that. And there's somebody I know I can call on and they'll answer just like how Jesus will. And it's a beautiful thing that I was blessed with, and I'm thankful for every one of them. And really, just to kind of end this, I know there's some stuff I'm missing. I gotta go talk way more in depth about this next time. But that's my story. Like, ultimately, it's a good version of my story. That's a good version of my testimony of how Jesus found me. And it's a wild one. It's a very crazy, it's like, whoa. But it's my story. And that's the good thing about God. He makes everybody different. So my story might affect somebody that you never knew had a relation to it, or your story might affect somebody else. That's why we got to share it. That's why we got to be called to be different, because you never know who can relate to you. And that's what I want to do today. I've had it on my mind for a while, and I just had to get it out. I had to talk about this. And I hope y'all guys just enjoyed this and can take something from it and spread this message about my story, about Christ, about God. And I just want to thank y'all guys for listening, even though you didn't have to. And if you made it to the end of this, just, hey man, remember Jesus and I love you. Have a good day, bro, and I hope all y'all guys are safe.